This is Our Rough Draft, a podcast, real talk for real relationships.
Welcome to Our Rough Draft, where we share real stories from marriage, work, life, and the adventures along the way. We'll laugh, maybe get real, and hopefully help you spark some new conversations in your own life.
I'm Denise, the wild, emotional one who loves words and big ideas.
And I'm Tim. I'm the practical level one who fixes what she dreams of.
And this is Our Rough Draft, where we share the stories we're still living.
Hello.
Hi, honey.
Welcome to Our Rough Draft.
Welcome to Our Rough Draft.
The roles are reversed a little bit this week.
Yeah. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm a little bit tired, but good.
Yeah. Why are you so tired?
School started this week. So first day of school. So I have a new gig, a little bit of a new gig this year at ASU where I am teaching in the fellows program. So I have a group of students who are working in schools and they come to me every Tuesday night and then one Friday a month. So we kicked off with the one Friday a month, which is a full day.
Yep.
And then we went out as a family and had a little fun on Friday night.
Yeah.
And then Saturday, I had my all-day doctoral class. So I'm a little toasted.
It's a lot of interacting with people for you.
It really is. But Friday night was fun.
Yeah. I had a great time Friday night. What did we do?
We went to
Refresh my memory.
the Matt Nathanson Bare Naked Ladies and Train concert, the
Yes, we did.
25th anniversary of Drops of Jupiter. And we've seen them since then, both Bare Naked Ladies and Train, I think. Maybe. I don't know. I'm going to have to look at the historical record of the concerts we go to. But we hadn't seen them together in 23 years.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Last time was a little concert on Alcatraz.
Just a little gig.
A little get together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was very pregnant.
You were.
It was October 15th, October 16th, one of those. 2003. Yep. And I had Cooper on November 14th of that year. So I was pretty far along in the journey to have a baby. So I was pretty lead with my belly.
Yeah.
And we had, we talked about it on the Go to War episode, trailers that were bathrooms. Right? We had those set up on Alcatraz, had them shipped over so that we would have restrooms on Alcatraz for this big event. And we had specific ones that said band only. And I didn't care because I was in charge and I was pregnant. And so I went in and I used the band only restroom. And as I came out, he was standing there and he goes, "Hello, band only." And I pointed at my belly and I go, "Hello, baby." And he was like, "You win." So that was fun. But that was 23 years ago.
Yeah.
And so it was fun to go to the show, and we love going to concerts and live music. And
well, I think it was also good to see their interaction too. I mean, it's obviously a very polished act that they have between all three of them. But like, I think Bare Naked Ladies brought Matt Nathanson out to sing with them for a couple. And then when Train, who was closing the night, brought the lead singer from Bare Naked Ladies out. So it was very much a...
And Matt Nathanson.
Was he there too?
Yeah, he came out with Train.
Did he? Yeah. So it just felt very like collaborative.
Yeah.
Like they all get along and they all, want to be on tour together. Yeah. Two kids playing. One, the lead singer of Bare Naked Ladies, his son is playing guitar.
Oh, yeah. Both of their sons. And Pat's
and then
son.
Pat's son, Pat, who's the lead singer of Train, his son, who's
14,
was playing guitar also.
Issaquah kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was cool. That was fun. The son of Bare Naked Ladies lead singer is much more grown than 14.
Yes.
Which showed us our age.
Indeed.
So, yeah. I know. I thought he had to go to the bathroom.
Dork. Anyhow. So that was our exciting weekend.
Yeah, that was a good time. But getting up and being out at ASU West Saturday morning was a little rough.
Yeah.
I was a little rough
early morning
for all day class after not getting home till midnight.
Yeah.
We don't do that much anymore.
So what are we talking about this week?
Today, I thought we would talk about school because we're back in it. And I have like a irreverent comment I made because that's what I do sometimes. I teach future teachers. I work with teachers. I work with people who were teachers. I work with a lot of school folk. And I said, we don't check grades. And I said, we don't go to curriculum night. And people's eyes get really big.
Both hot takes.
Yeah. So I thought we would talk about that a little bit and how our parenting has changed over the years and what our relationship is with the public school system at this point in our go around. I was thinking of a story that I could tell that goes with this theme. And I think it's a good one because you have a point of view in it that maybe I don't know. So here I'll start.
Can't wait to hear.
Once upon a time, I was teaching 4th grade and it was recess and the children were out playing at recess. And all of a sudden the door swings open from recess and they come pouring into the Rockwell classroom. And one of my students, who, by the way, this is why it's on my mind, his younger brother started ASU this week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So Turnin is here at ASU, which is super fun. So anyway, student comes in, Mrs. Waters, your son kicked me at recess, a fellow 4th grader says. And I look at him and the kid's probably a foot taller than Cooper at the time. And I just shake my head and I said, well, did you tell somebody? Yep, I reported it to the recess teacher. And I said, oh, great. What are our rules about that? Like, do we bring it into the classroom or do we leave it at recess? We leave it at recess. But it was your son. It's like, yeah, I hear you. And we leave it at recess because we've reported it. It will get handled. It doesn't come into our classroom. So we start teaching. I start teaching. They start learning. We're doing our thing. And the door pops open and it's the principal. And she looks at me and I said, I've heard, call Tim. And
yep.
So you get the call. And was it Mandy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So Mandy calls you. She was our assistant principal that year. And she's just one of the nicest humans in the whole world. And she calls you and says,
your son kicked somebody at recess. I mean, pretty much exactly what was reported. And he needs to go home.
Yeah. So he got suspended.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if we would do now. Like when I was a principal, like everybody wanted me to suspend kids all the time for things like that.
Yeah.
But we would handle it differently. And the story has evolved over the years. And so we know more about it. But it wouldn't have been just like he's kicked out of school. But at the same time, I think she was going to investigate. And so then you like separate. I don't know. School is a weird place. So anyway,
Yeah, I mean, I vaguely remember the conversation, and I basically remember that it was like, reinforcing the expectations and the rules. It wasn't much about the situation, and not in a bad way. I'm not saying like, Mandy she did bad, but I think that it was, there's that meme that goes around like, this meeting could have been an email.
Yeah.
Like that meeting could have been an email. And I also don't think I agree with suspending a kid for the rest of the day because they did something wrong at recess.
Right.
I mean, yeah, your kid shouldn't kick anybody, right? Like you shouldn't put your hands on, like there's stuff that you should not do. And I agree with the rules. What I don't agree with, I think in some cases, is the punishment.
Right.
I think in this case, the punishment does not like fit the crime, so to speak, of, yeah, they were in a situation, Cooper lashed out and kicked him. Yeah, shouldn't have happened for sure. And we as parents can deal with that at home. But when you send the kid home, like the gravity of that, to me, like that level of punishment is the same for something that's even more egregious.
Yeah.
So now you're telling this kid, like, there's only really one place to go with this.
Right.
And that place is, you put me in the office, you kick me out of school for the day, regardless of whether I kicked somebody or whether I lit the trash can on fire.
Or
Like, what the hell?
without finding out why I kicked him.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
right? And school's hard. I mean, I will admit that I had a similar situation later when I was a principal where kids were in an altercation, and I worked on rebuilding their relationship rather than just suspending them. And lawyers got involved and all of that because one set of the parents thought I was not handling it correctly. Yeah. So I get it, right? Like, I understand that it can be problematic.
Well, and we could do 6 episodes alone just on the influence of, or the outside influences on the educational environment.
Yeah.
I mean, that alone is...
It is a really hard place to work. How that story has evolved over time is really interesting. Even, I think, in real time, we knew what happened. We talked to Cooper. So the story goes that they were at recess and the student who was in my class said something negative about me. And Cooper kicked him.
Yeah.
Because he was defending my honor. Which, that's the whole thing. Years later, when I was the principal, and then Mason was a 5th grader in my school, 4th grader, I don't know, 4th or 5th grader in my own school. Later, we would have conversations about, like, by the time he got to middle school, and he had wanted to come to school with me, but he said, I didn't know who were my real friends and who were my friends because you were the principal and they were trying to suck up.
Yeah.
And that just broke my heart.
Yeah.
I just didn't, I guess, ever realize that being a kid was so complicated.
Well, and so tied to your parents.
Yeah.
Like in that situation, like it complicated Mason's social circle because of who you were. And I don't know that happens with a lot of other people, with the exception maybe of people that are high profile. Like it kind of strikes me the same way when your dad's a football player, your mom's a, lacrosse player, so like a star soccer player or whatever. I think depending on the level of visibility of that parent, maybe that's where it comes in, and people are...
They want that adjacency.
They do. And I think that the thing that makes me sad is I don't picture that as a 4th grade skill. I don't picture that as something like, because to me, that feels a little disingenuous. It feels like, to your point, the adjacency, I want to get close to somebody. And so therefore I'm going to use whoever I can. It just feels like a thing that happens much later in life, I guess.
I think so. And I can't be sure where it came from the parents or from the teacher. I could very well imagine the teacher, knowing what I know now about the classroom he was in, that teacher created a weird dynamic. Be nice to this new kid who's coming because he's the principal's kid.
Mom's the principal.
Yeah. I know, and it's so gross.
Yeah, that's so bad.
Yeah. I had an experience also with somebody I work with who made reference to, don't get sent to the principal's office. And it just breaks my heart when I hear things like that, because principals are human too, and go into it with the idea of, how do I help teachers help kids? Yeah. Not to be egomaniacal. Yeah. So it just, I think there's a lot of relationship building that needs to happen between principals and teachers need to be open to it.
Yeah, I think another thing that makes me sad in education is the us versus them.
Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, and hard stop, but one of the most personal for us is the teacher versus admin, divide that I think has followed you to a couple of places where it's really, really unfortunate that they feel like it's an us versus them, because the bottom line is everybody should be there for the kids. Everybody should be pulling toward that same goal.
Yeah.
And what we found, especially in those two situations, was A, not everybody was pulling toward that same goal. Or if they were, B, they were pulling in different ways. And what they thought the right thing to do might be different than what you. And then it was almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. I want to do this. Well, the accepted way to do that is this. Well, now you're just against me. No, I'm trying to help you find the right answer.
But I would never say no. I always said yes to what they wanted to do. Yeah. But then the yes was problematic. That even saying yes to what you want to try and do was not the right answer.
Right.
Like there was no winning.
I want you to say no.
Yeah.
Oh, for the love of God, I can't win.
So the reason that I brought this up is because we could talk forever about how it was as a principal and teacher and all of that. But I think our experiences with me as an educator has changed how we interact with schools.
I think so.
Right. And I think having different kids with different personalities makes us interact in a different way.
Yeah, I think that's true.
And so when I say we don't check grades, we don't go to curriculum night, we don't interact with the principal or the teachers, I'm not over exaggerating.
No, that's all 100% true.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, so this is Mason's senior year, for those that don't know. So last curriculum night that we could have attended, you were busy.
I was in San Diego.
I made the choice to not go.
Yeah.
And Mason said something about it the other day. And I just told him, I've been to a million of these, I feel like. I know exactly what they're going to say. And I never get any new information. It's not like the information is critical to my students' success.
Yep.
It's not anything that I need to be doing differently, because we have been involved. We have checked grades. We have been involved with the teachers. We have done X, Y, and Z, but it's been different across all three boys, the level of involvement that we need to have.
Right.
And at the end of the day, for Mason, we don't need to have the same level of involvement. He's very much a third child, self-managing himself through high school, essentially.
Yeah. He was really angry at the beginning of school. He wanted to change a class. Yeah. And he was trying to work with the teachers and the counselor to get it done. And he couldn't. Yeah. And he asked me if I would send the email. And the minute I sent the email, it was handled. And he was just pissed. And
rightly so.
Right. Because what we do in schools generally is say teacher interact with student, teacher interact with parent, but never all three together. And when they get to high school, it's very much like, I want to deal with your kid, but not with you. But I don't know. It's such a strange thing. And so we've made that conscious decision. We trust the schools to do their thing. We trust our kid to do his thing. And we will kind of stay on the periphery.
I don't know if you remember this, and I'm not sure that now is the right time to tell the story, but I'm going to tell it anyway. Of the time that I went to Ace Hardware and got into the argument with those two, I'm going to call them biddies.
Tell
outside.
me.
I think you remember.
I remember,
this.
But I don't remember the story.
So it was during this last election, I think. The lead up, not the midterm, but the last general election, I think. Okay. The lead up to that, when everybody was campaigning, and as I usually do every weekend, go to Ace Hardware, and they had a table set up outside. And I made the mistake of looking over there as I got out of the car, and the lady engaged me in conversation. Hey, we have some, candidates that we'd love to tell you about. It was a very benign start to the conversation. And I was feeling magnanimous that morning and thought, I'm almost 100% sure these are not the candidates I would vote for. However, she engaged me in a very non-threatening way, and I feel like maybe I owe it to her to go listen, right? The least I could do would be to listen. It's our neighborhood. Be cordial, yeah. Walked over there, and she said, we have this great slate of candidates, and started talking about all these different candidates that they had for different positions like city council and so on and so forth. Not like national level candidates. Yeah. But one of them was, I can't even remember the position, but she said something to the effect of one of the positions that this candidate was fighting for was for greater parental control over the classroom. And I physically
moved away,
distanced myself from the table. I was leaning over, I was expressing interest, and I just stood straight up. And she kept going on. And I said, you lost me. You lost me at greater parental involvement, or greater, maybe she called it parental oversight of the classroom. I think you a very, very polarizing term. And she said, she was shocked. She said, well, don't you want more parental involvement and more control over the classroom? And I looked at her and I said, God, no, I want less.
Yeah.
And she just like, you would think that I called her a bad word, or the level of shock on her face, and her partner was standing over to the side and giving me like extreme stink face, like I was saying I wanted to, I don't know, do all kinds of bad stuff. And so I started getting more
animated.
Yes. Not angry, not like elevated, but yeah, more animated. And she said, well, we believe that, so-and-so and such, and we need to have, oversight over the curriculum, and we need to blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, absolutely not. I trust teachers. I trust educators to do the right thing for my child. I don't need to be involved. I'm not an expert. Are you an expert? Well, no. Do you have kids in the school system right now? Well, no, but still. So why are you fighting for this? And why would you ever assume that you know more than somebody that went to school for education and has spent anywhere from maybe a year to multiple years teaching children and educating them, plus the administrators, plus the district level, plus this, yes, it's not always right, but it's right more often than not.
Yeah.
And that was the part that just absolutely pissed me off. I couldn't, and I've told you this part of the story. Like, I literally said, I can't deal with this, and walked into Ace to get my irrigation parts. That's how impactful this conversation was. I know exactly what I was buying that day, because I was standing in the irrigation aisle fuming and coming up with a list of 10 other points that I should have made, to the point where I actually kind of rushed my purchase and went outside, and they were both engaged with other people. And I was like, well, I'm not going to go over and interrupt just to argue with them. But if they had been standing there alone, I would have listed out the 10 other points that were on my mind in the irrigation aisle.
Yeah.
Pissed me off.
Well,
livid.
Yeah, I totally understand. And there's even more happening now with these new proposals to not have cell phones in schools, and so much people, I think, when times are hard and things are stressful, people want to control things.
Yeah.
Right? Control what you can and be scared by whatever. And so there is a scare tactic right now that cell phones are bad and that they're all bad. And I know where it came from. I know who the author was, and it's a misrepresentation of the research, which pisses me right off.
Yeah, there's ethical issues there, not just factual issues, but ethical issues.
So many things. So our senator posted on Facebook or something this week and said, I've just proposed a bill to ban cell phones from schools. And I just responded, no. Because I could get into all the reasons why. But what you're doing is, any kid who is a diabetic and manages their sugar on their phone now has to sneak their phone or get special dispensation to have their phone. Any kid who's learning the language now doesn't have a translator at their ready. I taught in schools when we didn't have phones, and I had students who couldn't speak the language. And when we got phones, we instantly had translators where we could communicate. Kids aren't playing games on their phones. They're not on social media if you're setting the expectations up right.
Yeah.
Right? Fourth graders had to have their phones in their backpacks. They couldn't have them in the classroom. You could listen to music, but now all of a sudden you take that away from the teachers and somebody else is legislating that. So now if teachers want to use it for an educational tool, they have to break the rules.
Yeah.
And that doesn't feel right, because now you're setting an example that way. And it becomes something that is punishable versus something that you can just manage.
Yeah.
And that, right? So now I'm going to suspend you because you have a phone at school. And our senator who's doing it is a fucking veteran. And I'm here to tell you, that was one of my biggest things. When you were deployed, I would always have my phone 100% of the time. And so now you have kids who are in a situation where their parents are gone and you're not giving them access to their parents when their parents are available. That, nope, I'm not okay with it.
Yeah.
And it's just a cycle. Like it will come back around and we'll have to get rid of these laws eventually. But it's so silly that law has to be a part of what we deal with in schools.
Yes, exactly. That is, I think, so going back to my story, I was just thinking like one of the issues that I think I have with a lot of these arguments is that they are being made by people who don't know the structure of the education system and how it works, or are not paying attention to the totality of that system. So it's like, hey, I've heard horror stories about kids, bullying each other via their cell phones in class. So therefore, the answer is no more cell phones in class. Versus how many other solutions could be on the table before you get to that one. Maybe that's part of the consideration set, but maybe it's number 10 on the list. But they just go straight to that thing. The other piece that like caught me about this conversation outside of ACE is you think the answer to getting more of what you want in the classroom. So not only has the education system become now a place where laws can impact, but it's also where personal feelings can impact the classroom.
Right.
I want more of what I believe is important, whatever that is.
Right. Whichever side
you're on,
yep.
I want more of that. So therefore, I'm going to be much more involved, and I'm going to go to the school board meetings, and I'm going to say that we should have, city council candidates or school board candidates that are much more involved in the curriculum. I want the experts to decide. I do not want my next door neighbors to decide. And I love my neighbors, but I do not want them dictating what my child is learning in class. I just think that's wrong.
Yeah. Well, and at the same time,
I'm very elevated about this right now. I feel like
at the same time, they bash the standards.
Right.
Right. So we can't teach to standards. We can't school has become a mess. And I am not here to say that the cell phones are not a problem, because I've heard of schools where teachers have plans and they have a place to put your phone, so your phone is put away during class period, and kids would put their burner phones there and have their actual phones, right? So there are some issues, but again,
that's pretty smart.
I know,
actually.
Right. So, but let me as the educator manage my building, not have so many laws that we have to jump through hoops, because we really are trying to do the right thing in schools. And that was kind of why I brought this up, is this idea of I feel like my lack of involvement, what I'm trying to do with it is say, I trust you as educators to talk to my kid, to manage the program, to get him to graduation. I trust you to do all of those things. And I'm going to stay out of it, because the noise is so much right now. Yeah.
Well, and not only do you trust the educators, but you trust the kid as well.
Right.
And I think that demonstrates trust in the kid. I love that point about reducing some of the noise. I mean, it is, from my outside perspective, my non-expert perspective, but I lived with you for a couple of minutes now.
Yeah.
It's got to be one of the hardest jobs on the face of the earth, because you are impacting the future. I mean, it's not hyperbole to say that you have an impact on society based on how you do as an educator, and a million other factors, right? Like the curriculum, like we've just discussed. But to deal with that in and of itself, I think is monumental. But then to throw all the other things in there, like the overbearing parents, like the system itself that's putting all of the rules and regulations on you, like your senator creating laws that make it more difficult for you to manage your classroom or manage the students as individuals versus just as a group of kids. There's a lot there to deal with.
There is, but the touching the future part is the easy part.
Yeah.
The fact that I am building a relationship with a kid whose whole life is in front of them is the easy part. I heard a statistic this week that in Arizona, there's a majority of teachers are leaving after 2 years. I don't know if that's true. I would have to look into it. But some of the grants that we have for teachers to become teachers, if you take the scholarship, and it's an Arizona scholarship, Arizona teacher scholarship or something, where you take the money for a year of school, you have to then teach for a year. and it's a 1-to-1. So interesting to me because I believe, just like with retail or the military or service of somehow, everybody should teach for a couple of years. And I've always said to my teachers, teach for 5 years. Give it 5 years. If you do not love it, leave. I will help you find the next thing. Everybody can benefit from 5 years of doing it. Mm-hmm. You may then decide this is it for you. Sign up for another 5, right? And then pivot to something else. But we make it so hard to change, and we make it so onerous in those first couple of years that we're not giving teachers a chance. My college just did something that I think is a little crazy. We got a 3-year degree approved. So you can get your bachelor's in 3 years and go teach. And how I do the math on this is this way. My kids graduated from high school at 17. Our kids.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Thanks.
Our kids graduated from high school at 17. One of them with an AA. Mm-hmm. So all of his prerequisites were done.
Yeah.
So in theory, based on the programs I have right now, he could graduate at 17, go get a job in a school, and become a teacher by the time he's 19. That's with his AA. With not the AA, without all the college going stuff that we're doing to high schoolers right now, which is a whole other conversation I could talk about, he could graduate at 17, do this 3-year bachelor, and be 20 years old and go teach in the school. I don't want that. I don't think that that is setting them up to be successful or our students in our schools to be successful. In fact, which is weird because I teach bachelor's students, I actually think you should get a degree in something else and then get a master's in teaching. I think that about journalists. I think that about teachers. I think that about almost anybody. Like, experience life first and then have something to teach.
Yeah.
Have a richness about you that goes into the classroom, that you know how to deal with people. You know how to deal with conflict. You know how to deal with hard times. Mm-hmm. Because that's what it is. The job is relationship.
Yeah.
The content is learnable by anybody, but it's the relationships that you're building. So I would like to blow up the system a little bit. Fine, let's graduate people by 20, which breaks my heart. Do not graduate from college before you're 21 and you can go to a bar.
Yeah.
Don't do that. That's not fun.
Well, from our personal experience, we've seen it not be good for our kids. I mean, and I don't know what kid, I think about myself at 20, 21, I had no idea what I wanted to do with the rest of my life.
Right.
I was thinking a year ahead at most. But that trope of you go into college and set yourself up for the rest of your life, that puts so much pressure on them. And even though you hear it less now, it's still a thing.
It is
still a thing. You have to go to college and figure out what you want to study.
Or I'm not going to college and I'm going to go get a job.
Yeah.
Okay, why? College is so much fun. It is so much fun. I know it's expensive and it's so much fun. Everybody should do it because you build relationships. You learn about yourself. You learn things that you would never learn anywhere else.
Yeah.
You have the opportunity to travel, to go to sporting events, to just
you're exposed to so
be
much
in the
more
world and become the person who you want to become, and then get the job that you're going to have for 5 years, 10 years, 50 more years you're going to be working. Yeah. So I don't know why we're rushing to work so much. But if that is a thing and it's something that we are set on doing, let's support it better in the schools, right? And so this idea of collaborative teaching, I totally believe in, where you have multiple adults in the room supporting students, and you could have an apprentice teacher and a really skilled teacher in the same classroom. And that could be a 20-year-old. And I feel great about that.
Sure.
And they learn things and they build things and they can talk to parents and learn all the relationships, but not this I'm 20 and I'm going to be responsible for 32 first graders. I don't see how that doesn't make somebody burn out.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right. I think it's because again, the curriculum part of it, the teaching, the lesson planning, like all of that is just basic stuff. It's the other things. It's the relationships with the kids. It's relationships with the team that you're on, relationships with the admin. Like, it wouldn't have to be an us versus them if you had a better sense of how to interact with people and how to take opposing viewpoints and bring those things together around a conversation.
Right. And that's the work I do with my undergrads is we really work on relationship building. And moving into this fellows program, my students are older. I have at least one who's been teaching for almost 10 years in private schools and is now getting her credentials so she can teach in public schools. Like, they come with a wealth of knowledge. People who went to school for a while and are working and are back at school, like that, I think is important because teachers need to be humans also, and not just they're the teacher who's, I don't know, doing whatever. So with all that being said, I finally have a question for you. Here we are. Looking back at basically now getting 3 kids through school, through high school, through K-12, is there a moment that stands out that was incredible or something that you would do completely different if you had to do it over again?
Well, I don't know that this sounds kind of, I don't know, sounds kind of weird, but I'm not sure that I would do anything different ever, because I think I've watched a lot of sci-fi where, and not that I'm like a sci-fi nerd, but I've watched a lot of movies where you change one thing in the past and look at the, the future that it so I think just from the point of view of you don't know in the moment to do anything different, and you can't go back and do anything different. And even if you could go back and do something different, who's to say it wouldn't have the same outcome or a worse outcome or potentially better? So I don't think I would do anything different. I think that I came from a different place than you did, obviously, when it came to grades, when it came to what was important, because I probably erred more on the side of, if you don't take this serious and you don't get a good grade on it, then your future is going to be shit. And I'm 100% confident I never said that to any of our kids. But I think in the back of my mind, one of the things that concerned me was it was that whole, this is setting you up for the rest of your life kind of situation. Like, and I felt a little bit of it when one of our kids came out of high school with a lower GPA than I think they wanted, and felt that impacted their future. It didn't.
They all had like straight A's in high school though.
No, they didn't have straight A's.
One had lower grades?
Yeah. But by lower grades, we're talking about like 3.3.
Got it.
Like, we're not talking about a 2.1 where they were just barely making it. But I almost felt like, oh, that's kind of proof. Like, yeah, if you don't get good grades in high school, then you can't do X, Y, and Z. And what I'm coming to learn, unfortunately, later in life, is it's all bullshit. And not to say that you shouldn't try, not to say that you shouldn't be engaged, not to say that you shouldn't, like, I have my own trauma around high school and what I did or didn't do and how I did it. And I'd love to go back and do that again, but would it have made me any happier or made me any more fulfilled as an adult? I don't think so. But that's kind of how I was raised, was like, grades are important. You have to get good grades to be able to do other things. And at the end of the day, that supposes that you will continue through the education system all the way through college, and that what you study in college will become your career. And if you don't have good college grades, you don't get a good job. Like, it was just a very like 1960s way of looking at things. And I think that that's kind of what I was maybe more bought into when we started having kids. So it took me a long time to unlearn that. So that, I think, is the part that maybe I regret a little bit.
Interesting.
Putting more pressure on it than maybe was necessary.
That's so interesting. That's completely opposite of what I would think you would say. Because when I look at the kids, right, like, grades mattered a great deal to me when I was in high school. And I didn't feel like any of them cared as much as I did, and that I got 3 Tims. Like, it's going to be what it is.
You did, but I think that's why I was panicked about it, because grades matter to me as well. Later in life, I saw that.
Later in life, but you've had a perfectly lovely life.
I know.
So
I'm not saying it's logical. I'm not saying that I think that I could be a billionaire at this point if I had better grades in high school. Like,
so interesting. I love that perspective. So for me, looking back, what I do love is the moments when I was able to engage teachers to support them. I love that Mason's kindergarten teacher still celebrates his wins every time he has them right now.
Yeah.
Shout out, Megan. It's just amazing. I think about the teachers that have had impact on our kids and the way they talk about them. And there was one year that I made time in my schedule to come be the copy mom. And I would show up, and it was at Rockwell. So it was my former school where I used to teach. And I would pick up the little basket out of Gina's classroom, Mrs. Holman, shout out Gina. And I would take everything down to the office, and I would make the copies she needed for the week, and I'd put them all together, and I'd leave the basket for her. I love that shit. Like, because I know that it like took something off her plate. Right. And I could just like show up and do it. And it was no big deal for me.
Yeah.
It was a big deal for her.
Yeah.
And so I love that piece of it. So I do love where I can make those relationships with teachers to make their life easier. And I wonder why that has to change. Why in middle school and high school, those teachers feel like they have to put up a wall with parents. And I know anecdotally why, because parents ask for too much. But what about those of us who want to help? Like, I could have been a help.
Yeah. Can I make a point?
Yeah.
I think this goes back to curriculum night a little bit. And we've also heard it on various sports teams that our kids have been involved in. But it's the concept of your kids are growing up and I'm paraphrasing wildly here, but you basically need to help them be an adult. And I think parents get mixed messages.
Yes.
In a lot of cases in the education system.
Yep.
I get 17 emails a week from my son's high school, our son's high school.
Yes.
We get text messages. There's
all
3 ways.
The time.
They send me a text. There's an important message. They send me a notification through the app. There's an important message. Check your email. And then I check my email and I've gotten the message. So you're communicating with me 3 different ways. You are worse than a spam caller, basically, in trying to get me to pay attention. And at the same time, telling me that my son is a young adult and I should let them try and navigate through the majority of the things.
And there's no way for me to get a hold of you because when I call, it's
a phone tree that doesn't go anywhere. So what do you want? Do you want me to be involved in my son's education? Do you want me to not be involved and let him grow into an adult who's kind of making his own decisions? I've had 0 impact on Mason's class choices. Right. Mason knows exactly what he needs to do to graduate. He registered for the classes that he needs and he wants. He only came to you when he felt like he wasn't being listened to, which he wasn't.
Right.
So if you want my son to be an adult and to grow into an adult, then listen to him.
Right.
And pay attention to him when he asks for something. Don't make us as the parents have to get involved.
Or let the parents be involved.
Because
in college,
it can't be both ways.
In college, I don't know, in every college, in my college, we'll support them. I don't need the parents to be involved, but I also don't need the kids coming in having done it for 4 years. Yeah. Like, I'm expecting that this is their first time navigating college and what they need to be able to do it. And we support them in that.
Yeah.
I also think there's a piece in what you were saying about grades and thinking it's more important than it is that plays into this too. I think that is curriculum night and I was on a call this week for National Honor Society, and these parents get so overwrought about things because they think it all matters so much.
Yeah.
And it might, but it also might not.
Well, that's how I felt about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's been over the course of having, again, 3 kids and seeing them in school and seeing your reaction to things that I think has mellowed my approach to that. You've always been much more invested in doing the work than the grade they got.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you've been applying your educator.
Well, I just
mindset.
don't think grades should exist. So that's,
Whoa.
I know.
Whoa.
I know. People would freak out about that.
You're going to cause us to lose our sponsor.
We don't have any sponsors.
Oh, you're right.
Our kids spend so much time in school, whether that is K-12 or college, that there is so much space there for you as a parent to ask better questions, to find out how things actually work, rather than just getting spun up on what you think you know or what you've heard from somebody else. There is a statistic that is really, really real that about half of our students don't come back for their second year in college nationwide. And nobody's posting.
That's tragic.
Nobody's posting about that on Facebook.
Yeah.
Nobody's posting about that on Instagram. They're just living in this like shame place that my kid failed out of school. It's happening all over the place. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. There's ways to support them. There's ways to support you as the parent to get through those things. Like, they're going to live their lives and we have to help them, whether or not they're K-12 or they're college students. That doesn't involve micromanaging what the teacher is doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? There's plenty of other places to spend your time and energy.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. I agree with that. Absolutely. I think that, especially in college, I think there's such a community that you have access to if you know about it. And if you are in a space where you're able to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
I mean, not everybody's in that mind space of being able to engage with the community. And it doesn't have to be something earth shattering, but there's all kinds of different ways to get involved or to create a community around you that will support you.
And come from a place of like genuine curiosity, not blame.
Yeah.
So I have seen it on the This Week Sun Devil Mom and Dad's page where parents are scared. And I think that we've talked about that before. Like, when you come from this place of fear or scarcity, what you're putting into the world is looking for a conflict versus coming from a place of curiosity. If I don't understand this, help me to understand it. Like, you can meet people there, you can build connections. But this idea of like, financial aid hasn't gotten back to us and blah, blah, blah. Like, I wonder if financial aid is delayed this year because the federal laws changed a week ago. Yes, they have. So I wonder, like, are we going to get a little bit of extra time to pay tuition? Are we going to get our scholarships later? And ask the question rather than like, you didn't do this. You're failing me already.
Yeah.
Because you're being scared, and like, just ask a better question.
Well, I think that applies to life in general.
Right?
It's not just what we're talking about.
I know. So thanks for talking to me about school. I don't know if we even talked about anything like articulate today, but that's okay.
I can't
it's just
remember.
A conversation.
I used a big word, and I think you also used a big word. So I think if you put those together, I think we were pretty articulate.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
And we're here to support people. Like, if you are navigating K-12 education and you don't know the right question to ask, like, hit me up. I'm happy to help with that. I have teachers who worked for me for years who are now parents who are navigating the system, who will send me a note and say, is this the right way to come at it? And I will help them craft their message and send it back. Like, we're in this together. We don't have to go it alone. There are people who have come before you in the system, and the system has worked for them.
Yeah. I think that's a really important thing also that we probably need to end on is this is not burn it down and start over conversation. Like, education has worked Education is working. Education has worked for our kids.
Right.
There's times where those statements are not necessarily true for us, but overall, by and large, education works. And the profession of education is populated by people who have a huge heart for doing the job.
These new students that I met on Friday, holy moly. I do not worry about school.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this a minute. Without exception, I can say this next generation of teachers, the ones in the classroom doing it that are younger than me, and this next group coming along, I'm not worried.
Yeah.
They've got it.
Yeah. So I think that's an important note to end on.
Yes, for sure.
So,
thanks for playing.
Thank you.
All right. So what questions should we have people ask each other this week to get deep into the weeds?
Well, I mean, I think as a parent or as a person who is co-parenting a child in school or children in school, I think some of those conversations around what's your approach to school?
Yeah.
Because I think we had to figure that out. And I think we both had very different, especially when we talk about our high school experiences, we both had very different approaches to what high school meant. So I think having that conversation up front and just talking about like, what's your feeling about grades? How involved do you think we need to be as parents? Or some of those questions would be important.
Yeah. I'm going to say one thing that I wish I would have done differently when the older two were in high school. And I have one who's still a senior, so I can make it happen. I wish we went to more sporting events in the high school. I felt like you didn't love it. And so I was like, fine, we don't have to go. But I love it.
Didn't love what?
Like going to a high school football game. I love it. So I'm going to go to a high school football game. I
love
this
it
year.
also.
I totally thought you didn't want to do it.
No, that was some of the best times of my life were.
But as a parent.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Okay. Well, I guess see us at the field.
See us in the stands.
All right. Thanks, honey.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, oh.